Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. And we have finally made it to the last final Oscar predictions video with CODY DERICKS from Next Best Picture. Today we were talking the screenplay categories, director, and picture. How are we doing, CODY?
Doing well. Happy St. Patrick's Day, apparently.
Coincidence.
I feel like we should be wearing gold for awards for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Something.
I mean, we're talking like the big ones today. Like, we're talking director, picture, the most suspenseful categories of the night, CODY.
Nope. As it's been lately, no surprises here. We'll talk about it.
So, yeah, we will get to those. Let's start with the screenplay categories. I do think these are also kind of locked up, but it's not outside the realm of possibilities that we could get a surprise, right? In one of the two?
I have a very clear idea of who's going to win each category, but there's potential. There's not as it's not as locked in as it is some years for both categories. Mostly because of Barbie. It's all
okay.
fault.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with Best Adapted Screenplay. The nominees are American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So, how do we feel about Adapted Screenplay, CODY? Is there a clear frontrunner here?
There is a frontrunner. I don't know if it's clear, though, because all season long, I personally was of the mind that Barbie is going to win no matter which category it's in. And it ended up maybe incorrectly and adapted, depending on who you're talking to, me. And I don't know. I was really sure that the combination of Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, who are both on their third screenplay nominations individually with Barbie, would carry the film to a victory here in screenplay. But American Fiction has won so many writing prizes specifically lately. So momentum is really on its side. It picked up the USC Scripter Prize. It won at BAFTA, where that was its only nomination. And I'm just starting to think maybe that momentum can beat out Barbie's affection and prestige in terms of its writing team. It won original screenplay at some places, which I would think maybe could translate over to adapted, but I don't know. I'm thinking it's American Fiction.
I also thought Barbie could maybe win this a few weeks ago, but the film has faded. I don't know if it can win anything but song at this point.
Costumes?
Maybe costumes?
Maybe? Yeah,
I'm still really close on costumes. I don't know about
Me
you.
too. I did finally slip over to Barbie, but...
Oh, okay. So you're predicting Barbie for costume?
I am. Yes, I am. Nervously, tentatively, but I am. I don't know. This is tricky. I'm feeling pretty good about American Fiction's chances, but the other thing is we haven't seen Barbie go up against American Fiction when it comes to writing, because it's been original almost everywhere else.
What I find interesting about American Fiction is that it's not competitive for a win, really, in any other category. But here, it's the front runner. It's just kind of an interesting situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough this year, and we'll talk about this later. I guess there is an argument to be made that it could be the runner-up in Best Picture, just based on a writing prize and being well-liked, probably rated high on a lot of ballots, but is obviously, whatever is number two is going to be a distant number two. But this is definitely its best chance to pick up an Oscar. And I think it's going to happen.
For me, CODY, I think American Fiction winning screenplay at BAFTA without being nominated for anything else, that told me, okay, that's winning the Oscar. I don't know what, I was like, okay, if it's not even being nominated for other things and they still give it adapted screenplay at BAFTA, it has to win, right?
Yeah, when it won BAFTA of its only nominations, it's a very American film. Yeah, I mean, the fact that BAFTA still went for the screenplay, and there's, as we know, Oscar voters in BAFTA, so I think it's going to happen.
All right, so our final prediction in Best Adapted Screenplay is American Fiction. Okay, next up is Best Original Screenplay. The nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. I would love to see Past Lives win this, CODY. I would leap out of my seat. I would cheer. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and there was a time this season, maybe around the fall, when I thought it could happen. It felt like the kind of film that could win an original screenplay, but I don't I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. I've seen some people saying maybe it'll surprise. Everybody likes this movie. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Again, it would be a lovely win. It's one of my favorites in the category.
It's crazy, Cody. We've been doing this long series of prediction videos. This is the only video we can talk about Past Life. It's only in the two categories we're discussing today.
I mean, on one hand, it's amazing that a little film like that premiered at Sundance over a year ago, we're talking about it all for Oscars. But it should be in other categories, actress perhaps, but...
Oh, don't get me started.
That was Brian Bate. I knew you were going to like that. I do think it's going to be Anatomy of a Fall, which won the Globe, which won BAFTA. Won Globe's Screenplay Prize, period. There's no separation of original or adapted. And the Globe Screenplay Prize doesn't have the best track record, but it does show that there's energy towards this screenplay, and that win kind of kicked off a series of wins for that screenplay. It almost gave people permission to give it awards. And I just think the film is in a really good position right now. People really like it. It has buzz. And the screenplay is a specific element that people are really drawn to. And original screenplay has gone to films not in the English language before. Parasite recently, obviously. Talked to Her years ago. It's not a category that is afraid to do that. And I think it's going to happen again.
Yeah, this is a film I feel people want to see win something. And Sandra Hüller in Best Actress, I mean, that would be an all-timer shocker, amazing victory, but very unlikely. So this is the one place they can reward the movie. And although there are some great nominees here, I mean, not just Past Lives, I think The Holdovers is a fantastic nomination here too. At the beginning of the season, Cody, I thought The Holdovers was going to be the big original screenplay winner. And it never really came to fruition.
I know, it felt correct in terms of the types of films that they award here. And they like the movie, obviously. Alexander Payne films have won screenplay twice in the past, The Descendants and Sideways, so it would have made sense, but I just think Anatomy of a Fall is sitting in a really good place right now, and with the international scope of the Academy nowadays, which is different than it was last time an Alexander Payne film was up for an award. And he didn't get into director. Justine Triet did. I think Anatomy of a Fall is looking a bit more secure as a winner.
So if there was going to be a shocker surprise in screenplay, do you think it's adapted, not original?
I do think it's adapted, mostly because we just, again, haven't seen Barbie go up against American Fiction, whereas we've seen The Holdovers, Past Lives, and Anatomy of a Fall go up against each other a few times this season, and Anatomy of a Fall wins. It won at Golden Globes, it beat both those films at BAFTA, so we have a track record for this film's screenplay winning original screenplay prizes, and I think it's going to continue.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's close, but I do think I'm more confident in my prediction in original screenplay for Anatomy of a Fall than I am in adapted for American Fiction, even though I do think American Fiction is probably winning.
I think I would agree with you. I think saying that out loud, seeing how often they've gone up against each other compared to American Fiction versus Barbie, I think I'm feeling better about it.
Okay, so our final prediction in Best Original Screenplay is Anatomy of a Fall. So I know you are all in suspense as to whom is going to win Best Director. So here are the nominees. Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall. Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things. And Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest. What do we think, Cody?
Oh God,
Justine
what's going to happen?
Justine Triet? Come on.
I predicted her for the nomination, just going to say. But, I mean, come on. This is up there as one of the easiest categories of the night with international feature and supporting actress. It might even be the easiest call. It's just, everything points towards Christopher Nolan winning for Oppenheimer. It's felt like his time for months now. And it's the biggest film, not monetarily, but film of the year. It's going to win the Best Picture. It made a ton of money. Christopher Nolan has been nominated here before. He's been snubbed here before, even more famously, which ended up changing the rules of the Academy and how many films are up for Best Picture. That's all his fault. And I mean, it's a World War II film, even if you want to get down to further evidence why they're going to love this movie. His vision and his details and his work in this film is very apparent. There's just little suspense here. It's going to be Christopher Nolan, and it's going to be a good victory.
Yeah, I agree. I have an announcement here to make. My next Elusive Oscar video coming to you just a few hours from now is Christopher Nolan and the Elusive Oscar, because that series is all about people who have had many nominations before who've never won. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm ever going to make this, I better do it now, because this guy is winning on March 10th.
Unless he just jinxed it.
I mean, I think we would all just fall over backwards onto the floor in just absolute despair, shock, everything, if any name but Christopher Nolan is announced in Best Director.
That's how you know a category is locked, when you don't have a clear second place. It could be, there's an argument to be made for any of the other four. You know, you could say Jonathan Glazer.
I think it's Glazer.
I think it might be Glazer, maybe Yorgos, because it has Yorgos. Poor Things is doing really well right now. It got a ton of nominations. Glazer's work is really obvious and apparent, and is like the way the movie works is through his vision. Scorsese is Scorsese. Justine Triet, again, you could say the buzz for Anatomy of a Fall is really cresting right now, but none of that matters. None of that matters.
Christopher Nolan is just one of our greats. I think, like, the average person would assume he's won an Oscar by now. Like, I mean, as you said, he didn't even get nominated in Best Director for The Dark Knight, which is insane. Like, that was one of the 5 Best Directors. Nominate the Reader. It's so stupid. And that's what my new video goes into, of like all the nominations he's had. Why didn't he win for Dunkirk? Why was Del Toro the pick that year over Nolan, who had made a World War II movie? I think everybody's rallying around this guy like, okay, you made this amazing film. It made almost $1 billion. Like, we can't ignore Christopher Nolan anymore.
He's the kind of filmmaker that you can tell Hollywood knows deserves an Oscar at some point in his career. Unless he's going to have the greatest career a director can imagine. I don't imagine he'll have a better chance than this. A movie that is a blockbuster, is a cultural phenomenon, appeals to the Academy, head to toe. It is just perfect for a Best Director win. And who's going to be upset about it?
So yeah, our final prediction in Best Director is, of course, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. That takes us, Cody, to the final category in this long-running series we've been doing for weeks now. Let's talk about Best Picture. The nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. What a fantastic lineup of movies that is, right?
Yes. Yeah, this is one of the better Best Picture lineups I've seen in, frankly, my lifetime. It's head to toe pretty great. You know, even my least favorite films in here, Maestro and American Fiction, I'm not really a huge fan of either one. They're not bad movies, which we've seen bad movies nominated in this category recently. Some might even say last year. But it's little to complain about, and there's not much to complain about when it comes to what's going to be the winner.
Yeah, this is a good reason for having 10 nominees, I think, not 5. When you have those years where there's easily 2 or 3 you could like leave out and nobody would miss them. I mean, yeah, you could argue Maestro. I think a lot of people think that's number 10 and kind of the weakest one. But even if that's the case, I like that movie. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah, I think unfortunately if this was a sliding scale year like we've had recently, I think Maestro would still be in, but it'd be Past Lives that would be left out in the cold, unfortunately.
Oh, you mean like those years where we would have 8
where
or
it was
9
like 8
nominations?
Or 9. Yeah.
You think Past Lives would have gotten just a lone screenplay nomination and that's it?
I do, which is unfortunate, which is why we love the 10. I much prefer the solid 10. I never liked the sliding scale. I'd rather have a solid 5 than the sliding scale. Solid 10 is fine.
I am so thrilled that Past Lives is in Best Picture. I just love that for the rest of time. That is a Best Picture Oscar-nominated movie. It just warms my heart. I love that. So we mentioned that American Fiction might be close to Oppenheimer in Best Picture in terms of like the preferential ballot and things. Like, what do you think right now is second place behind Oppenheimer?
Again, it's really unclear. There's a case to be made for like half the nominees. I do think it probably is Poor Things, just based on its really strong BAFTA showing, its Golden Globe win. It has 11 nominations, which is right behind Oppenheimer. If it doesn't win any Oscars, it's going to tie the record with Color Purple and The Turning Point for most nominations with 0 Oscars. So I do think it's Poor Things, which is contending in some big categories like actress. But it's, again, as I said with director, when you're saying this, when you're struggling to figure out what's number 2,
yep,
or when it's not apparent until after the Oscars, like last year when it became clear that it was probably All Quiet, that means you have a runaway favorite. That means you have I hate using this word, but lock, and that's going to be Oppenheimer this year.
I do agree with you that Poor Things is probably number 2, especially since it's in so many categories. Will win, I think, at least 1 or 2 tech. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I don't think anything's that close.
Exactly. Exactly. Like the Nomadland year, like last year, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So your favorite film of 2023 is?
It is Oppenheimer. I know that's so boring. It's so boring. I've seen, 150 plus films, and it is still my number 1 of the year, but it's the kind of achievement that, to me, is kind of undeniable and hard to top. There's plenty of wonderful films this year. This was a very good film year. Definitely the best since COVID started. And if I had a ballot, I would vote for Oppenheimer. It's going to be a great winner. It's going to have a great legacy. It's not going to age poorly as Best Picture winner, which I would say half of our Best Picture winners cannot say that, if not more. There's very little to complain about here. Unless you're an Oppenheimer hater, I don't think, even if it's not your favorites, you're going to be disappointed in this winning the top prize of the Oscars.
All right, Cody, so there's not much more to say. We all know what's winning Best Picture. It is going to be, of course, Oppenheimer. Our final prediction in Best Picture at the 96th Academy Awards is Christopher Nolan's masterpiece, Oppenheimer. All right, so that takes us to the end here, Cody. Thank you so much for doing this for me. I mean, we have made a ton of videos since January. I really appreciate your time and going through all 23 of the categories with me. It has been such a thrill.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody out there, for watching. Hope I didn't wear on you over time. But yeah, I'm happy to be here and discussing these categories. It's been a good Oscar year. I'm excited to see it finally end. In terms of, I'm excited to see these people win some Oscars finally after we've been talking about it for months now.
Yeah, and we will be back together next week, a few days after the ceremony. We have to talk about the show, Cody. The 96 Academy Awards, what we liked, what we didn't like, any surprises. We will have one more video to discuss all the shenanigans and the wonderful moments of the big show.
Can't wait. Hopefully not too much shenanigans. Let's be sensible here, folks.
So, Cody, if you can tell our viewers where they can find you online, now would be the time.
You can find my writing and podcast work at Next Best Picture, and I'm on Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram, all over the place at CodyMonster91.
Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what you think is going to win at the upcoming Oscars in Screenplay, Director, and Picture, and we'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.